So if we're going to start this project from the very beginning within Photopea or Photoshop, what you would do is you would go to File and you would say New. That's it in Photopea, File, New in Photoshop, and you would name it, and then you would change its physical dimensions in inches to at least 8 by 10. I'm going to do 11 by 14 because I like to do a little extra. And you want its resolution to be at least 300 pixels per inch. It will give you a white rectangle. Same thing here. Make sure it's in inches. At least 8 by 10. I'm going to do, again, 11 by 14. And then at least 300 pixels per inch with a white background. Then what you're going to do is you're going to bring in your reference images. Just drag and drop them in, hit return. That's in Photoshop. This is in Photopea. Now, as you do that, they will have a blue box around them. And you have to hit return in order to do the next task. But they'll start to stack up in your layers. So you'll see that. And the goal for today is to get at least 5 stacked up in layers that we can start manipulating. So that's what we want to work on. You can always check your size by going to image size, to image size, and make sure that the physical dimensions are at least 8 by 10 and the resolution is at least 300. And then this will be the file we use next class. So how do we save it? We save it by going to File, Save As. So Rodrigo, this is what you can do. And make sure you save it with your name and then a description. I'm going to just save it to the desktop and then I'll navigate it into my folder after. So you want to make sure you save it not to your cloud documents, but to the computer itself. If you want to do the extra of saving it to your Adobe Cloud documents, you can. But this is what I wanted to show you. When you open Photopea, I'm just going to open Photopea in a different browser window. You can do this from any computer that has an internet connection, whether you're administrative privileges or not. You can now take that PSD that you saved from Photoshop, and we can open that in Photopea and keep working on them. Keep adding images, keep playing. All right. So let's continue. And I'm going to continue in Photoshop because we can always transfer it. As long as you save it as a PSD file, it will save all our layers. All right. So now, if I look at my layers, which are on the bottom right hand, right? I see that I have a background layer that's just blank white. Because remember, I opened it, made it blank, and then I brought these things in. Or if I grew that space around my first layer, it might look something like this as a background layer. Either works. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play with the second layer on top of it. And to make it so that we can start compositing, I'm going to change the blending mode of this layer. So there's 2 things I want to do in order to be able to edit this. The first is I want to right-click on the layer. You'll see it highlights. And I want to click on Rasterize. Rasterize means don't refer to an external file for these images. Remember the pixels within this program. And that allows me to change the pixels. That changes it from what's called a smart object into just rasterized pixels on that layer. The next thing I want to do is up at the top of layers where it says normal. This is what's called its blending mode. Right now it's showing us at 100% opacity all those pixels, the black and the white. I want to change it from normal to what's called multiply. Multiply blending mode is like a projection. It will only show you the darker pixels. So even though the white pixels are still there, we don't see them because it's showing us only the dark images. This is the perfect time to start collaging. So how do I mess with this? And this is what we're going to be doing over and over again for practice. We're going to go to Edit on this layer, right? Edit, and then Free Transform. The shortcut for it in Photoshop is Command-T. This is the one difference on this project in Photo-P, just because Command-T in a browser opens up a new tab, which is annoying. So when you want to free transform, I'll do all those same steps right here. Let's see. I will rasterize, right-click and rasterize, and then I will go to normal mode, change it to multiply mode. There we go. And now I'm going to go to Edit, and you won't see, well, you will see Free Transform, but you won't see the same shortcut. You have to do Option Command-T instead of just Command-T. But it gets you to the same function. It gives you what's called a transform box around it. So that transform box allows you to rotate it. It allows you to distort it, scale it. If you hold down Shift, you can squeeze it, right? Warp it. And if you right-click within that transform box, you get all kinds of fun options, like flipping it, and my favorite, which is warp, where you can push and pull it like it's silly putty. And because we rasterized it, now we can also take chunks out of it. So for instance, if I don't like this little remnant of the watermark that's there on my griffin, I can just lasso around it and then hit delete. Take that chunk out. Or if I'm like Arturo Herrera using Snow White characters, I'm going to take out all of their identifying characteristics, like their faces, their eyes. But it's going to be layer by layer. All right. What if I want to transform the layer behind? Well, I click on that layer, and I have to rasterize it, and I have to go to change it from normal to multiply, right? And then Command-T or Edit Free Transform, and then I can play with it. So, let's see, maybe I want to warp it so the head is kind of coming through this way, and I curve the beak a little bit more to line up with the wing. You push and pull. Maybe I want this leg to come out a little bit more like that, this one to come back, and maybe I'll erase that. Hit return. And now I can just get rid of this with my lasso and delete. And on the other layer, I can get rid of the wingtip here. And maybe get rid of the griffin as it overlaps my bird's neck right here. So it's all about being on the right layer that you want to affect, and then using the right keys. So in this case, delete. Just like scissors and collage. And at any time, you can turn the little eyeballs on and off to kind of see what you've got, right? On these different layers, you can hit Command-D to deselect or just click somewhere else with your lasso. Then I can move on to the next layer. Like this one, I'm going to rasterize it, right-click, rasterize, blending mode, multiply. Edit, Free Transform, or Command T in Photoshop. Option Command T, or if you're on a PC, that would be Alt, Control T. It allows you to mess with these things. Then use my lasso. Because I rasterized it, I can delete. If you don't rasterize it, if you keep it as a smart object, when you try to delete, it will say this has to be rasterized first. Do you want to do that? And you do, because we want to edit the pixels. Turn them into our own thing. Once I cut it out, I can then do Control T again and warp it with that cutout, to kind of connect those lines. Combine this tail with this rope. Get rid of this text. And you're just experimenting and having fun and creating something that's your own. Through free transforming, through erasing, through warping, rotating, all that wonderful stuff. So this is what I need from you before I forget. I'll need you to put your little image tag and just put it into the corner of your computer screen to leave it there. It will take me until next Monday to kind of learn all of your names. This way I can make our groups. I appreciate it. And then as you are working, I'm going to come around and take your picture. Now, the last thing I want to show you in this video, and that will be it for today. We'll pick this up next class, and you can work on it on your own before Wednesday. I'm going to show you, if you have something that has line art, but a lot of color in it, how can you clean that up, right, and use it for just black line art? The first thing I need to do is rasterize it, right, so I can edit it. Then I'm going to go to Image and Adjustments, and the only adjustment we're learning for this project is levels, the lights and darks. And you can see when we do that, we can push the lights and darks to kind of isolate the line art, but there's still going to be some color there. Right? So you do the best you can with those settings. If I go too far, right, then all those yellows and reds will also become black lines. Or I'll lose lines that I want. So I can keep it kind of nearer the middle. The gray is for midtones. And then I'm going to hit OK. So now, how do I get rid of the color? What you're going to do is a different type of selection. So we've been using the lasso just to select areas. Underneath the lasso, these are the more specified, kind of quick selection tools. The one we're going to use the most in the class is in the drawer at the bottom. It's called the Magic Wand tool. So you want to select the wand just by holding down on the tool, finding Magic Wand. And you can see that it has a tolerance, it has anti-alias, you're going to leave that checked, and then it has contiguous. You're going to leave all the defaults on, and you're going to click only on the black pixels. And you can see how that selects just the black. Then you're going to go to Select at the top. It's a little complicated, but it's going to help. We're going to build these skills. And we're going to do Select Inverse. Select Inverse will swap. So it will select everything except the black line art. When we do that, it doesn't look that different, except now it's also selecting the outside edge. So that when we hit Delete, it will delete